Got an update on Mr. Austin Goosby for you, and every time I say Goosby, Riley's just gonna laugh. We literally had to like stop and start the video 4 or 5 times because he just can't get over how much he loves the last name Goosby here. Austin Goosby, 6'5", 190 pound shooting guard, currently in Texas. But he's got a lot of ties to the state of Utah, a lot of ties to BYU specifically that I'll speak on in just a little bit. Austin Gooseby's been turning heads. He's already been making a splash on the EYBL circuit. He is averaging 14 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, and 2 steals for Drive Nation on the EYBL circuit this year. Showing a lot of all-around stuff. That's defensive impact. That's facilitation. He's a lot more than just a scorer, and he's showing that right now. He gave an update to On3 and to Jamie Shaw. Shout out to Jamie. Go subscribe to On3, read the full article. But we've got some updates on 3 schools that Austin would really like to prioritize and take visits to. He mentioned by name BYU, Texas, and SMU. And outside of that, he says he's heard from Kentucky and Baylor, but they haven't offered yet. So maybe Kentucky swoops in, makes an offer, and suddenly there's additional options on the table for Mr. Austin Goosby. Certainly a player that's deserving of a Kentucky offer. Riley, before we go through these schools and these quotes one by one, you deserve the floor to speak whatever you'd like on Mr. Goosby here.
Great name. I know you said at the top, I can't get over that his last name is Gooseby, dude. Like that alone makes me want to be in on the kid. And then you watch him play, his tape pops. Like he's plays with really good pace. I know that's kind of like the buzzword right now when you see guys like Luka Doncic, who's like, oh, they don't really necessarily pop that athletically, but they just control the game really well and kind of dictate the tempo. They play on their own terms. They play make for others. Then you see that with guys like Kasparis Yakashonis this past year at Illinois. Like he has a little bit of that to his game, even though I would say he's much more of a 2 than a 1. But he has the athleticism to go with that. I think like he's really strong around the basket, can finish above the rim, good size, and his tape this past weekend at the Memphis EYBL session really stuck out to me. Like he won MVP of that event. I think averaged 16, 7, and 5, then had over 2 steals to go with it. I think he's just outside or just inside the top 30 right now, but you're seeing like as the interest ramps up, like I'm sure Kentucky, especially you mentioned the LDS connections with Mark Pope. Like I'm sure that offer is going to come sooner rather than later to really launch this kid into stardom. In addition to what you see on the court, everything you read about him from various people who are covering basketball at the grassroots level talks about how he plays the game the right way, seems like a good leader, and has all the intangibles to go with it. So yeah, very in on this kid.
Yeah, I think BYU fans should remember the name and just prepare themselves to maybe be the end destination here. As you mentioned briefly, Austin Gooseby is a member of the Church of Latter-day Saints. So I believe he's the highest rated or just the best high school basketball prospect that is LDS. Obviously, there are pretty that makes it just a perfect fit option, right? If that's your background, then why would you not consider BYU? BYU's done some work. They've hosted him on visits already. Obviously, Austin is living in Texas, but he has family on his mom's side that lives in Utah. He has a cousin that currently attends BYU. He has another that's on a mission after starting at BYU currently. So the connections are more than just loud. Like they're possibly everything to this recruitment here for BYU. He's been to BYU before, as I mentioned, and a family member walked away from the BYU visit and afterwards said, quote, Kevin Young is a basketball genius. It's a whole other level of intelligence. We went to BYU in Kansas. Kansas didn't hold a candle to BYU's atmosphere. BYU was electric. So you've got the Gooseby family speaking in this way about BYU right now. With all due respect to Texas and to SMU and even a potential Kentucky offer, this recruitment is BYU's to lose. And when you read through some of the updates in the latest update per On3 here, I just think it's really notable that he's basically asked, like, hey, where do you want to set up official visits to? And the first name that Austin Goosby mentions is the school he's already visited a ton. Like normally, if you've been to BYU a bunch, you only get a certain number of official visits. You might want to
Mhm.
take those across the country to a Kentucky, to a BYU, to places you haven't been, or to Baylor, excuse me. Instead, Austin Goosby's like, yeah, I need to line up an official to BYU when he's already been there a bunch. Am I being too elementary in the way I view this, Riley, or is this BYU's to lose?
It certainly reads like that on the surface when you look at all those connections, when you look at like what the family's saying, when you look at having a cousin who's already, you said the cousin's already on the team, but he's on a mission.
Not on the team, but at the
Oh,
school.
but he's at the school. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think all of that matters a ton. There's just something like when I look at him though, he kind of plays like a Mark Pope guard. And I think with
Ooh,
Mark Pope having the LDS connection, which I actually don't know what Kevin Young's faith is. He might have that as well. But yeah, so feel free, BYU fans, chime in the comments. But that's just where I wouldn't really I don't know. I don't want to count out Mark Pope from a recruitment like this should Kentucky get seriously involved, just because he's showing, we talked about this on another video, he can sell a program. It seems like he connects really well with fans, with boosters, and recruits alike. And even just the style of play. Like, it would be, like, I'm glad Young has the Richie Saunders role to sell, like after this year, where you can see a lot of those similarities. But I think Pope can do the same thing with the guard friendly system where he's going to get you in position to get good looks, to create good shots, and to, I mean, take a lot of threes too, what kind of guard doesn't want to shoot a bunch of threes?
I wouldn't overlook Texas here, largely because his older brother is a football player at Texas. So he's living in Texas, got a brother at Texas. You've got
Mm-hmm.
family in BYU. Like there's family connections at both. And for what it's worth, when asked more, like, "Hey, what's the number one priority in your recruitment? What's your timeline?" He told On Three, "Quote: I'll be looking for a school that communicates well, someone who reaches out a lot, keeps me involved, just a school that is like a family." Where I have a relationship with and I can trust the coaches. He's got two schools on this list right now that are the first two schools he names as where he wants to take an official visit to that he has familial connections to. It's BYU and it's Texas. I think you're right. Kentucky is the outsider I wouldn't want to see here. If Mark Pope swoops in, a former BYU coach, and can leverage some of his relationship building stuff there, that would terrify me. But for now, I think this is heating up as a BYU versus Texas battle. And based on the way they're talking about this, I still think this is a BYU done deal.